Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Keep up with all of this at Tarpley.net, Twitter feed, Webster G. Tarpley. So we've got Belhaj Hasidi Hassadi, Al-Qaeda butcher and monster, as the rebel commandant now of Tripoli with life and death powers, carrying out a bloody reign of terror which features rounding up black Africans, black Libyans, and God knows what is happening. How many have been lynched? How many subjected to summary executions? How many lined up and machine gunned? These are the typical methods of the monster and butcher Belhaj, Libya's answer to Heinrich Himmler. Now, there's a scandal about this, needless to say. Here in the U.S., the scandal's been muted, I think, partly because the Congress is out of town. Speaking to Press TV this week, I predicted the mother of all scandals for Obama. The Obama administration supports terrorism. There's no way around it. Obama, Hillary Clinton, Panetta, all the rest of them, the National Security Council, whatever nonentity is over there now, they are providing material support to terrorism. That sounds like an issue that some Republican might be interested in, if only for demagogic reasons. But remember, man meant it for ill, God meant it for good. Let them do good while willing evil. That's the only way we've come this far, as Leibniz always pointed out. So this monster, there's a blowback. And who comes forward to defend him? Sarkozy, the most unprincipled adventurer, the most obvious scoundrel of the whole lot, even outdoing Cameron and Obama, although the competition, of course, is intense and goes on day by day. But for this past week, the most impudent scoundrel of all was Sarkozy. He says, my special Elysee Palace military attaché, my military aide, I sent him to talk to Belhaj, and we can certify Belhaj, alias Hasidi Hassadi. He's a wonderful guy. He's been converted to democracy. Belhaj is complaining now that the CIA tortured him. Well, this calls attention to the fact that Belhaj Hasidi Hassadi was, in fact, a U.S. prisoner of war in Pakistan during the days when he was personally killing U.S. soldiers, pulling the trigger himself, and organizing Libyan fanatics from that Benghazi to Tobruk area to go into Iraq and Afghanistan and to kill the U.S. forces. Now, you can say, well, those were freedom fighters. Fine. He fulfills the official U.S. definition of a terrorist, and therefore, to put him in charge of Tripoli is certainly an affront, and I believe a violation of U.S. law. He was indeed captured by the U.S. during his criminal escapades in those days. And remember, I've always said Al-Qaeda is the CIA Arab Legion. Here you see it. Al-Qaeda is the CIA Arab Legion. They cannot carry out 9/11. It's obvious. He's a psychotic. He's a fanatic. He's a bungler. He's a lunatic. But he can kill. He can blow up a supermarket. He can blow up a bus. He can machine gun a group of 50 to 100 prisoners, terrified black Africans. You've seen them on television. Even Al Jazeera can't hide the animus against blacks. The victims that they're showing on television are in their overwhelming majority black. So call to the black community, call to the Congressional Black Caucus, stop this genocide which features black people. We're getting up there, right? Remember after the Rwanda-Burundi genocide of the mid-'90s, people said never again. Well, never again. It's happening now. After Al-Qaeda was together with the Taliban under U.S. auspices, of course, people said never again will we allow a privileged sanctuary for terrorism. Well, guess what? You've got a first-class port on the North African coast, Mediterranean, a couple of 100 miles from Sicily, and so forth, under the control of Al-Qaeda. And this guy is Al-Qaeda. He's not linked. He's up there. If bin Laden is gone, Zawahiri is there. You've got al-Laki, the CIA lackey in Yemen, and then you've got Belhaj. So he's up there. He's certainly in the top 10. I would say he's in the top 5. He may be in the top 3 in terms of his power now, because he's got his hands on huge weapon stocks that these other characters can only dream of, and huge U.S. money coming in to go into Belhaj's terror account and also his numbered Swiss bank account. So this is an obscene international situation. Now, the Gaddafis, Saif Gaddafi calling for resistance, Gaddafi himself, 2 recorded calls for resistance yesterday. This was the day, of course, of the Paris Conference of Jackals, the Friends of Libya. The Friends of Libya. These are the people who want to loot Libya. And whatever money comes out of there, once again, that money will go preferentially into the numbered Swiss bank accounts of Jalil and Jibril and Hifter and the rest of them. But also, they'll also be making money on the arms bazaar, selling those surface-to-air missiles and other things that Gaddafi had stockpiled. You've also got competing statements from Juppé of France, Haig of Britain, the two foreign ministers. They both want to be at the top of the list when it comes to looting Libya. Haig says, we will not be left behind. Juppé says it's fair and reasonable for us to loot Libya more than anybody else. Pity the poor Italians. Pity the Russians. The Russians have tagged along, cutting a sorry figure. Sorry figure for the Russians, sorry figure for the Italians. The goal here, of course, partly to loot Libya, partly to make it into a failed state. If you allow Belhaj to persist, Belhaj Hasidi Hassadi, if you allow him to persist as the military dictator of the main city in the country, you're looking for a failed state. You're looking for mini-states, micro-states, warlords, secessionism, criminal enterprises. Belhaj fills the bill on that, too. In short, chaos. Tribal warfare also. Don't forget that. And that seems to be the other card that NATO is playing. In terms of how long this goes on, I predict a long war. I predict that the province of Fezzan in the southwest, where most of the people are black, are not going to accept the yoke of this Benghazi racist al-Qaeda gang. There are plenty of supporters of Gaddafi across the country. Urban guerrilla warfare is obviously going on. We have reports from Darius Mahdi Nazem Roaya that when he left the country on, I believe, Saturday or Sunday this past week, maybe it was Sunday or Monday, that you could hear the sounds of street battles all over Tripoli, and that will continue. In the case of Saddam Hussein, you can see that after the U.S. invasion of March 2003, there was a period of several months in which the resistance basically was not there, but it then mounted up in the late summer and into the fall so that by October, November, it was clear there was an armed resistance. In this case, in Libya, I think it's going to be continuous. There will never be an end to this fighting as long as you've got foreign puppets attempting to rule the country. The big question for the rebels, once again, is how many have been killed and how many more can they afford to see killed? And at what point do these people start going home? Once they've got their loot, a lot of them will go home. Other ones will begin to fight among themselves for the sources of future loot. There's an attempt made by various television networks to Watergate Congressman Kucinich because of his contacts to the Libyan government. These are wretched neo-McCarthyite attempts with Kucinich, right? Are you now, or have you ever been? And a guy also called David Welsh of Bechtel, who had advised the Libyans. There's no Tripoli bounce for Obama. It didn't help him, and it's going to hurt him now because it's getting to be sickening genocide. Back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.